Yes, Soumith Raju. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So, you are from Karimnagar.
Sir, I would say I am from Hyderabad, sir.
Okay.
I was born in Karimnagar and brought up till 10th class in Warangal.
Okay.
But after 10th class, I moved to Hyderabad and I've been staying here since last few years.
Okay. So, Karimnagar once upon a time is very famous for left-wing extremism.
Sure.
Karimnagar and Warangal district. So, you are from those districts.
Yes, sir.
So, why is it was prone for that area only? What was the history behind it?
So there are two primary reasons which I can think of. The first reason is the geography of the area, which is present in the Chhattisgarh area. It extends beyond the border of Chhattisgarh, Telangana, and extends till the area of Warangal and Karimnagar. So there is a conducive geography for the Naxals to stay there.
And what is the reason behind birth of left-wing extremism? So you want to tell me that from Chhattisgarh it came into Karimnagar, or where is the birthplace happened?
So the birthplace actually happened in Telangana is what I would think of, sir, because the main reason when communist movement has garnered attention in the nation is during the Telangana struggle, the communist revolution in Telangana in 1948.
Okay.
After the independence, immediately after the independence, against the feudal system of the Nizams. So that was the time when communist revolution, communist ideology has been prevalent in the area of Telangana, and majority of the intellectuals have also been supported from the current NIT Warangal, which is REC.
Okay.
So one of the main reasons why Warangal has been a hotspot is due to the forest and due to the low socioeconomic indicators as well as the presence of NIT Warangal.
Still, left-wing extremism is there in your districts?
Sir, compared to the mid-2000 levels, it is not as much prevalent as it was there. But the recent newspaper reports have shown that Naxals have been spotted in those areas, especially in Bhadradri-Kottagudem district, near to the forest areas in recent times. So there has been a resurgence and an attempt to revive the Naxalism in Telangana recently.
So, Bhadradri is a new district. I think your state government had reorganized the districts.
Yes, sir.
How many districts are there?
So, currently there are 33 districts,
Okay.
Which have been reorganized from the erstwhile 10 districts.
Okay. So, why I asked this question? Because recently there is a left-wing extremist attack on CRPF Jawans.
Yes.
22 CRPF Jawans were been martyred. So, if you are posted in Dantewada district as an IPS officer, mainly in CRPF, whether you will work?
Yes, sir. I would be willing to work there.
Okay.
And sir.
Okay. Yes.
Is there any other questions you want me to address in that part?
Yes. Why you want work? Yes.
Okay.
You tell me the reason.
Sure. Sir, I would want to work there because, like me being posted anywhere is my responsibility to discharge the duties, and especially in that area there is a challenge from Naxalism, and there is opportunity as well on how to convert the crisis into and develop the socio-economic indicators of that particular area. So it will be a good opportunity, and not only as a challenge, but a good opportunity to prove myself and also to make myself useful in the best place possible.
Okay. So, Sri Krishna Committee, are you aware of Sri Krishna Committee?
Yes, sir, I am aware of.
What is it about?
So, Sri Krishna Committee was a committee which was formed before the bifurcation of erstwhile Andhra Pradesh to give views on what would be the equitable distribution of resources, or even what are the pros and cons of bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh.
So, same Sri Krishna Committee had told that if Telangana is given as a separate state, the left-wing extremism will be increased. So, what you say on this? Is it such happened, or it will happen?
Sir, the recent newspaper reports have shown that there is a resurgence of Naxalism, but that is not necessarily associated with the formation of Telangana state, because after the formation of Telangana state, there have been and formation of new districts, there has been a decentralization in the power, and the government authorities have become more accessible to the people. So if the revival of Naxalism is happening, but I don't think that has any links or indicators from the formation of the state.
Okay. Now you can remove it because I'm feeling comfort with you.
Sure.
So I want to see your expression.
Okay.
Mask లేకపోతే ఇలా నాకు స్మైల్ కనబడట్లేదు. So your parents both are business.
Sir, my father was a businessman a few years ago, and he is currently sick, and he is not. He is retired and he is not working.
Okay.
But my mother, she owns a small scale boutique, and she sells sarees and does some tailoring work as well.
Okay. So she is taking care about everything.
Sir, not my mother as a sole person, but I'm also working currently. I have joined the job after mains, and we also get help from our grandparents. So these three.
What your father used to do earlier?
Sir, my father used to have tried multiple businesses before he got sick. So one of the primary businesses he was involved in was cab rental businesses.
Okay. So whether this private car rental businesses is hijacked by now these corporates, what do you believe? Is it not that Ola, Uber had captured the market of the middleman or middle class car owners, rental business?
Sir, it is true. The private cab businesses like Uber and Ola have captured the market, but I would not say it is a hijacking phenomenon because it is bound to happen anyway. Because the free market is the ultimate goal and efficiency is what we deserve. So even though these companies have hijacked, what I observed is when I travel in the Uber or Ola, I have conversed with some of the drivers, and these drivers act like contractors with the company. They are employed in a gig economy model, and these were the same people who used to own cabs and drive. So although the market has been captured, transformation.
Can you name any company, Indian company? Synonymous means same like Ola, Uber. But because those are foreign companies.
Sir, allow me to correct you this. Ola is an Indian company, sir, which has been started by Indian entrepreneur. And there was one more company which is Taxi for Sure, which has been acquired by Ola a few years ago.
Okay.
So, yes.
And the next place is from Warangal.
Sir.
Tell me about dynasty Kakatiya.
Sir. Sir, Warangalites associate themselves with the rich history of Warangal, which is majorly contributed from the Kakatiya dynasty, which boomed from the 10th and 11th centuries and ruled till 13th century, sir.
Okay.
And some of the famous rulers from that dynasty is Rani Rudramadevi and Prataparudra and Ganapati Deva. And their major contributions to the area involve some of the temples which are constructed, like the Thousand Pillars Temple, beautiful architecture.
What is the culture of Kakatiya dynasty? Why? Because your hobby is culture. Very interesting hobbies are there with respect to culture.
Sir.
So you are going to get a lot of questions on that. So tell me the culture of Kakatiya.
Sir, one of the interesting points which when I was reading, I encountered during the Kakatiya reign was that they claimed themselves as Shudras, and they also propagated equality right from the 11th and 12th. Although the system was feudal, the caste discriminations were tried to be tackled, and the rulers themselves claimed as Shudras.
Okay.
So I think equality has been one of the major things in Kakatiya dynasty, and the building of
it was egalitarian society.
Yes, sir. It was on the path of becoming an egalitarian society, not completely, but the rulers have tried to do that. And also a culture of building temples on Shiva is also seen during the Kakatiya dynasty. And one more culture which I like is the rise of women. I think Rudramadevi can be called as one of the first powerful women of Telangana. So I think that culture has also been observed.
I heard in people ask, what is that?
Yes, sir. Kakatiya dynasty has attempted to revive the agriculture in the Telangana region during that time. And one of the ways to do that was to cherubus, which are reservoirs, which are called as cherubus in local language. and connect them to the rivers through canals. So, and the current government is also trying to apply the same which Kakatiya has done, and Mission Kakatiya is the current scheme which they are trying to replicate from the older ways.
So my question is, you told 33 districts were being made. Earlier when United Andhra Pradesh, no districts were there for your region?
So 10 districts.
10 districts. So 10 districts made into 33 districts.
Yes.
So whether this reorganization of districts is a good idea?
So I think in the short term it is a good idea, because since ideally in the long term there has to be power to the third tier of the government, which is panchayats and the urban local bodies. But since that has not been good as planned by the third amendment, divide these bigger districts into smaller districts, because the population has also grown since the last time these districts were made. And since the people have a direct attachment with the collect and the local authorities, because there are more districts, there are more authority offices accessible to the people nearby to them, and they'll be able to. There is more access to the people, is what I believe, sir, and I think this is a good idea to go in the short term.
The long term?
Sir, long term, I think the people and the state government should work towards more decentralization of powers to the panchayats and urban local bodies.
So you use the word called as urban. In India, how an area will be declared as urban area? Is there any specific definition?
Sir, I do not remember the exact criteria, but I do not remember the figures of the criteria, but some of the criteria they take is the area of the urban area, the population density of that particular area, and what activities are going on economically in those areas. Because if the area is majorly agriculture, it cannot be made an urban area. But if the area has more economy driven from the tertiary sector or the secondary sector, it has more chances of becoming an urban area.
So municipality, what is this municipal bonds?
So municipal bonds are the bonds issued by the municipal corporations or the municipalities to raise funds for the development of local infrastructure, as well as to help in better execution of the schemes. So these bonds will be sold to people in the current price, and later on, as the infrastructure develops and as the economy grows, the bond purchasers will get dividends from the bonds.
Is it a successful idea?
Sir, I know that many municipalities have come up with these schemes right now, but I'm not aware how these bonds are performing as of today.
There is a scheme called as Amrut scheme. Regarding?
Sir, Amrut scheme is a scheme launched by the government of India to revive the urban infrastructure and facilities in selected cities around the country.
Okay. There is a slogan called as Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas. Whose slogan is? Who advocated this?
Sir, if I remember it right, it is the Honorable Ex-President Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam.
There is one thing, Canara Nagar, Firjati Kuda, Canara Nagar. So it is associated to Canara Bank.
Yes, sir. I think there was a bank, or there is still a
bank employees calling it.
I think there was a bank only, sir. I'm not sure. That is what I got to know.
Okay. So tell me the large banks in India right now after consolidation. What are the large banks?
So the large banks are the first large bank is the State Bank of India, and thereafter comes the Punjab National Bank in public sector, and in the private sector there is HDFC, ICICI. These are some of the major banks.
Okay. There is a concept called as bad banks.
Sir,
what is that?
So the bad banks concept has been there in debate since long, but recently in the current budget also, Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has proposed to set up a new bad bank. And what this bad bank does is to get the NPAs, which are bad loans, from the banks of the public sector, and try to monetize them in a better and efficient manner. So what bad banks does is take the responsibility of resolving the issue of NPS from the banks and keep it in a centralized and well efficient.
That means recovery is done by?
So the recovery is done by the banks.
Bad banks. Earlier there were debt recovery tribunals. Then what is this function?
Sir, from my understanding, sir, the debt recovery tribunals were potential courts which were up and they were also helping the asset reconstruction companies, the ARCs, which were one of the
asset reconstruction company and bad bank both are the same?
Yes, sir, in a way both are same. But in the current execution, although the previous attempts have been failed, in the current execution, the government is trying to make the bad bank disassociated from the political spectrum of political influence and make it work in an efficient manner.
So this bad bank, you studied in Chaitanya.
Yes, sir.
Who is Saint Chaitanya?
Sir, Saint Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a 15th century Vaishnava saint from the current region of West Bengal. And he is famous for one of his philosophies known as Achintya Veda Abheda. And also he popularized the chanting of Hare Rama Hare Krishna.
Okay. Can you give me you are from IIT Hyderabad, so can you give me the difference between institution of national importance and institute of eminence? What are institutions of national importance and institution of eminence?
Sir, institutions of national importance is an older concept compared to the institution of eminence, which is a new concept which has been released in the past 2 to 3 years, 2 years ago. And institutions of national importance are those institutes which drive the education and human resources in the country. For example, all the IITs and the NITs as well as the IIMs and other universities, they are given this institution of national importance status because they are backed by a legal law. So they are backed by a law. And institutions of eminence is a recent concept whose major purpose is to compete globally with the global universities and increase the rank in global rankings.
So that is from Hyderabad. What is there is a view going on by the current government or from the some of the political parties that Hyderabad should be renamed as Bhaginagar.
Sir,
you is the same?
No, sir, I do not wish the same because for me, I have been from since childhood. I have been calling it Hyderabad, and many of my peers and relatives are also associated with this name. And although it is since the elected government, it is in the hands of the elected government the decision to rename. Since they are also elected using the popular will, it is in their right to change the name. Personally, I do not think it would matter a lot.
That means changing the name of Allahabad to Prayagraj is a bad idea?
Sir, I would not say it is a bad idea, but I would say it is an idea which does not have much impact on the ground.
Okay. So nothing big going to happen because of that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you worked at Flipkart. There is recently e-commerce rules were been out there.
Sir.
What are those?
Sir, I do not remember the complete rules, but from what I remember, sir, one of the rules is that the government does not want the big e-commerce companies to monopolize in the sales. So they have put a cap on how much percentage these giant e-commerce companies can have in the selling in the total number of products or total volume of products which are being sold. And I'm sorry, sir. I think that is what I get as.
Because you worked in Flipkart.
Yes.
In 2017, your Flipkart was largest e-commerce. Immediately, Amazon had overthrown Flipkart.
Sir.
Why your company was still working? 2018 you left, huh?
Yes.
Why your company gone down? At the time when you were working, it reached zenith, and when you are resigning, it came down. Why?
Sir, it is true that when I was working, the company was doing good. And one of the reasons some of the market has gone to Amazon is because of the extensive investment which Amazon has got from global headquarters. So Amazon has put in a lot of money compared to Flipkart, and there has been good quality of the products and the efficiency of selling, and even the technology of Amazon has overtaken Flipkart some of the aspects. But however, sir, after 2018, after I left, Walmart has in Flipkart and has taken over 81% of the stake, and more money has started flowing in as FDI.
But I think today also Amazon is on the top.
Sir, Amazon is on the top when compared only to the electronics or some of the aspects, sir. But taking the apparel aspects as well as the DI interface also as a whole, Flipkart has more market share than Amazon if we consider all the products.
What is intermediary rules 2011 under IT Act your company, e-commerce companies? Are you aware of it? I think you have to look into e-commerce.
No, sir.
That is very important. Flipkart is something very interesting.
Sir.
Legal issues around e-commerce. Consumer Protection Amendment Act 2019.
Sir. Yes. Sir, I remember some of the major changes in the act. One of the major is to include the e-commerce aspects of the market in the act as well. Because today, as e-commerce companies have grown, those aspects were not covered in the previous act. So one of the things is the right to get correct information from e-commerce companies and the right to know the origin of the product as well. Because today, globally also we are trying to decouple and the consumers should have a right to know whether their product is coming from China or from other countries and take a call into their wish. So this is one of the things. And other main thing I remember is setting up of a consumer protection authority in the central level, sir.
So there is data, our own customers' data will be present with Flipkart, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So whether our data, customers, consumers' data is safe at Flipkart, why? Because there are allegations that Facebook is violating data protection. So what is the issue of Facebook and whether Flipkart is safe?
So the allegation with Facebook is that a few years ago there was an international scandal associated with Cambridge Analytica, and Cambridge Analytica has taken the data from Facebook and tried to sell the political inclination of people, the data related to the political inclination of voters to political parties. So that was one of the allegations against Facebook releasing the data. And coming to Flipkart, so we worked in the company. I know some of the internal aspects of privacy which is being taken care in Flipkart, and the Flipkart has been ensuring strictly, and there is a strict policy also to allow the data sharing. Even the employees also do not have full access to the data. So Flipkart is trying to do well in ensuring the data privacy protection.
Are you aware of this Personal Data Protection Bill 2019?
Sir, yes, sir.
Tell me the important.
Sir, the first provision is setting up of the data protection authority at both national and state levels, and which essentially adjudicates on whether a certain provisions must be there or not, or a certain policy. We get towards the policy the data privacy should take in a way. And another provision is the protection data consumed in India must be there in India only. And although data mirroring is being allowed, the original copy must be there in India only.
Whether personal data can be issued by the government?
Sir, usually no, but there are exceptions in the law which are given right to some of the government agencies to use this data.
You got 18th rank, whether it is which exam, NCERT exam, IIT exam,
NCERT exam.
Then NCERT means you have to study somewhere locally, no? Then
Yes.
again you wrote IIT, then you got that rank. Huh?
No, sir. I have prepared for NCERT only, but using the same knowledge and preparation, I was able to get into IIT.
NCC is that. Very good. What's the difference between NCC and Scouts?
Sir, NCC is a youth wing, is considered as the youth wing of the army, whether it the military or force of army. So these three wings are also there in NCC, and it is considered as an auxiliary unit, which the whole purpose of NCC was to first develop discipline and unity among the children and the students in the country, and whenever needed, they might be called upon for doing activities like during the 1965 war or the 1971 war. So this is what NCC purpose has. While Scouts and guides what is there, the people is not directly associated with military, but although the principle is trying to develop unity and discipline by doing other kind of works, like for example, helping them doing conducting some works or going ahead and teaching some of the schools.
Plant drives.
Yes, sir, plantation drives and others.
So I think that Scouts and Guides is dying.
Sir, I think I'm not much aware of the status of Scouts and Guides.
So, elected as Secretary of Cultural Affairs in Student Body, IIT, responsible for cultural affairs.
Sir.
Culture means?
Sir, person or for a community. Culture means what principles or what behavior or ethics or morality and the activities that are represented in a certain community or area associated with that particular area, which are unique to other places.
Okay. So that means culture will give way of living?
Yes, sir. Culture in a way is the way of living of certain section.
And second also, cultural events coordinator for college fest.
Sir.
Led a team in organizing events across the cultural spectrum. Means what you will do?
Sir, as a cultural coordinator for the college fest, I have responsibility to help different organizers working along with me to organize different events across the arts and culture. Which, for example, sir, whether it is a painting event or a dance event or a drama event, including classical, western, everything, during the 3 days of the college fest. So, what I would do is I coordinate all these organizers, help them in making some calls, getting participants, and working with the infrastructure persons and setting up the infrastructure for the events and all. So,
if I ask you blatantly,
sir,
do you have the culture to become an IAS officer?
Sir, I think I do have the culture to become an IAS officer, sir. Because according to me, the culture an IAS officer should have. The first thing is honesty, sir, and I think I'll be honest. And the other thing, which the current government is also trying to bring into the picture of civil servants is through Mission Karma Yogi is for him or her to become a Karma Yogi, meaning working towards the result, doing our work irrespective of what the result is and without expecting rewards. And although I am not at that stage currently in my life, I am trying to go into that path and become a Karma Yogi.
Very good. Because of westernization and globalization,
Sir.
Because of westernization and globalization, Indian culture is deteriorating. Is it correct?
Sir, I would not take it as a blanket statement because due to westernization and globalization, many values which are important for each person. For example, the value of liberty, as we borrowed from the West, is also there. Although there are some negative aspects also, which are diluting the current culture.
Right.
For example, sir, there has been a growth in mental stress and mental tensions in the youth in USA as well as in Japan. So I think that is one of the crises we also faced during the pandemic also. That we have realized that too much individualism and isolation has also caused a lot of mental stress in people.
So your culture clubs, so you are very much oriented for culture, then your option should be somewhere anthropology or psychology, sociology. But your option is SIR, international relations. So can I know the reason why you choose SIR?
Sir, although I worked in the arts and culture domain during my college days, the reason why I choose PSIR is because I did not have my graduation subject, which is computer science, as an option, and one of my friends has been cleared with SIR optional. And I thought strategically I would get guidance from you. And also, sir, I have looked at the syllabuses different options. And in PSIR, I have found that there are very new things which I did not learn till then. For example, there was scholars like Gandhi, Aristotle, Plato, which I've never thought of learning in the previous years. So this is why I've chosen PSIR. And also, sir, regarding whether culture is there in PSIR, sir, I think culture is an overarching concept which is associated with every optional we take. Even with mathematics also, we need to look at the culture of how mathematicians are there and what is the culture of writing good formulas or arriving at a conclusion. So culture plays a role in every option is what I believe.
What are the four dances of your Telangana?
So the folk dances I can think of is Chenchu Ramayanam, sir. Chenchu Ramayanam or Bharatam. I'm sorry, I not remember correctly. Which is performed by the Chenchu tribes of Telangana, which is a drama mixed aspect of art and which involves the epics using the dances and dramas.
Okay. More. Once I visited your airport, I saw some Ogukata is happening. What is it?
So Ogukata is an art form where people tell different things, whether it is mythology or otherwise, using ballads or singing or even dances.
Okay. More any folk dances of your region?
I'm sorry, sir. I'm not able to get it.
What is listening to hip hop, rap music? Different or one and the same?
Sir, hip hop is usually considered as a larger culture, of which rap is one of the parts. Rap is associated with the lyrics and the flow of lyrics and singing. Sir. While hip hop is a culture overall, whether it is the music or the dance or even graffiti, generally also comes under hip hop. So hip hop is an overarching culture and rap is associated with the lyrics.
You listen or sing rap?
Sir, I usually listen only. Sir.
Okay. Who is Yo-Yo Honey is famous for?
Sir, Yo-Yo Honey Singh is a Punjabi singer as well as rapper also, who has made considerable contribution towards hip hop music in India.
There is a concept called as protest hip hop.
Sir,
What is it?
sir, protest hip hop is when hip hop as an art is being used for a cause which people think is justifiable, and using the hip hop songs and music, they try to propagate for a social cause. For example, recently in USA, during the Black Lives Matter movement, many hip hop artists have come forward and sang and performed many songs related to the African culture and the injustice prevailing in USA. And I've also observed a similar trend in India as well. During the lockdown during the lockdown period last year, one of the rappers have come from the migrant laborers family, and he has also sang. Although I did not understand the language, it was from Jharkhand, but he was also singing for the social cause.
Which style dancing?
Sir, I do not have any specific style of dance. What I usually do is I mostly dance alone in my room whenever I feel happy or whenever I see a new step going viral online. For example,
You can also create one of yourself.
yes, sir. I tried to make a few videos online. They did not go viral. Sir, they did not go viral yet. Maybe I should improve on my dancing more. So freestyle dancing in my intent, what it means is it does not have any specific style, and whichever interests me, I do.
This is very interesting. Your zone 5 and your preference is first is zone 5, first is Telangana. Okay, it is your home cadre. Why not Andhra Pradesh, your Telugu state?
Sir. So the major reason being, sir, I have lived most of my life in Telangana, sir, Warangal and Hyderabad, And if there is only one place which I have lived away from Telangana is Bangalore, sir. Because I worked in Bangalore for 2 years and I have roamed there in and around Karnataka a few places. So I have a personal connection with Karnataka more than Andhra Pradesh is what I feel.
Okay. From your state, there is a famous case, vote or not.
Sir,
What is that?
sir, if I remember it right, vote for note.
Yeah, because now election atmosphere is there in India.
Sir, a few years ago, there was an issue where one of the political parties have tried to buy one of the MNC's votes to for themselves. Sir. So that was one of the scams. I do not have the complete details, but
Okay. I heard that MLC is Anglo-Indian.
yes,
These Anglo-Indians are there now. Today also Anglo-Indians is there in Parliament.
sir.
Whether they say so.
Recently, the government of India has come up with a constitutional amendment where it has removed the reservation for Anglo-Indians in Parliament as well as the state legislatures. So, but whichever persons have already contested and elected before this pass of amendment, they are in legislatures.
There is a rainbow revolution in agriculture.
So,
What is that? This is favorite question for UPSC.
yeah, I think I'm not aware of this.
Violet, blue, green. Favorite question. I also got. So in that PSIR, what is the current issue happening in Jordan?
Sir, in Jordan there is a political crisis going on, and one of the events which have happened is that one of the princes, who is the half brother of the current king Abdullah, has come out on media, especially the social media, and he was advocating that the current Jordanian authorities are not efficiently managing the trade, and there has been a good amounts of corruption scandals also happening. So he's also a claimant for becoming the king. Sir. So this political crisis is happening in Jordan.
What could be the best solution for Syria?
So the Syrian problem majorly, from my understanding, is the war between Russia and the Western powers on who is having the major control. And the aspect of this is rise of terrorism, Syrian area, and also the separate movement Kurds. So these three are the major issues. Sir. So I think one of the best solutions is the powers like USA and Russia agreeing that there can only be cooperation in that case, and also tackling the terrorism, especially the ISIS, which the USA and our powers have tried to exterminate a year ago. But still, there are reports that ISIS is still some of the. So, tackling terrorism and having a peaceful solution for the Kurdish state, and also pass an agreement between Russia to turn Syria into.
See, I know you are aware of judicial overreach, judicial overactivism. So whether this judicial overactivism, judicial adventurism, judicial overreach is violating separation of powers, which is guaranteed by the Constitution.
Sir, I think judicial activism, what I understand from that is judiciary going beyond its mandate to serve justice to the people, using the powers of Article 142 to provide complete justice, and other articles as well. So 32, like Article 32 and Article 226 in case of High Court. But judicial overreach is when the judiciary goes beyond its mandate and also encroaches the powers of legislature or executive. So there is a thin line between judicial overreach and activism. Judicial overreach not necessarily hampers the separation of powers. It actually strengthens the separation of powers because judicial activism keeps a check on
Yes, judicial
separation
activism
of
keeps a
powers.
check.
But judicial overreach is in a way encroachment on the separation of powers.
Okay. So what could be the best solution?
So I think the best solution for judicial overreach is when the executive and the legislature working on its own goals, so that the judiciary does not need to go beyond its mandates. So if every part of the country does its own work, there won't be a mandate for other to go further.
So right now elections are happening. So from 2 decades, what I am noticing after my retirement, distribution of money is rampant in every state, in every election. So give me one innovative idea by which vote for cash. So buying, selling of won't be stopped.
So I'm not saying it is an innovative idea, sir.
Okay.
But I will borrow from the current debate which is going on nationally, which is having a centralized the state funding of elections.
Okay.
Because when state funding of elections happen, it helps different parties to spend their money while contesting elections. And along with this state funding of elections, parallelly there is also supposed to be effort bringing more transparency into the money power in the elections.
Okay.
So when these two go hand in hand, I think automatically the demand for cash in the country goes down. Yes, sir. As of now, I can think of.
Okay. What is electoral bond? In electoral bond, the person who is paying the money and getting the bond, he is opaque. The person will not be out. Is it not in democracy is against transparency? So what is this electoral bond?
So electoral bond is a promissory note which can be sold by a bank, as of now SBI, for funding of elections. So donors, when they want to fund poll parties, instead of giving the cash or directly transferring the amount, they can buy electoral bonds of different valuations and then political parties of their choice. Regarding the anonymity aspects, the rationale behind the government's approach towards keeping it opaque is that they want to prevent the political vendetta happening for the donors. For example, one of the party provides funds to one of the entity provides funds to one party, and the next time another party comes to power, they want to avoid the targeting of this particular entities.
One country is celebrating 50 years of independence. Which country?
So it is Bangladesh.
Okay. What is Mukti Bahini?
Sir, Mukti Bahini was a weaponry force or a militant force which was formed during the liberation of Bangladesh struggle in the 1971 or even a little year before that, working towards the goal of liberation from the Pakistani state at that point.
Who is the father of Bangladesh?
Sir, it is Honorable ex-Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sri Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
So there is a counterpart conflict between two people, Sheikh Hasina and Khalida Jia. What is the issue between both of them? Why they are in counterparts? Yes, politically they are counterpart, but ideologically also they are counterpart. What is the ideology between both of them?
Sir, I think I do not have enough knowledge on this, but from my limited knowledge, sir, what I understand is the party of Srimati Sheikh Hasina is more towards on the secular side, and the other party is trying to be non-secular in a way, at least in their activities, what I gather from newspaper reports. But my knowledge is not enough to discuss on this.
What are enclaves?
So enclaves are units of landmass which belong to another sovereign, but geographically present in a different sovereign.
Okay. With which country we have enclaves?
So with Bangladesh we had a few enclaves, but in 2016, if I remember it right, we have made a deal, land boundary agreement with Bangladesh, and we exchanged the enclaves.
Okay. See, as we know, China will be coming with innovative ideas. Again, they are coming up with the Polar Silk Road. What is it?
So Polar Silk Road is the imitation of the current Belt and Road Initiative, or the revival of the Silk Road towards the north of China, towards the North Pole, especially because because China faces a challenge in the Indo-Pacific region, and it also faces a dilemma called Malacca dilemma, where it could be choked by the Western powers. So what China is trying to do is to provide another trade route along the Siberia and towards the north of Russia for Europe, for trading with Europe, and also to get and use the resources from the North Pole region.
Finally, if I have the power to give IAS post to you, can you tell me why I should give you?
Sir, I think I'll be an honest officer if I get in charge of something, and I'm a person who likes responsibilities, sir, and I take my responsibilities seriously. I've been taking them seriously since my childhood as well. So even though I can promise you or I can assure you that even though if I don't go beyond my mandate, I'll be able to fulfill the responsibilities which are given to me. I will try to go beyond my mandate, but fulfilling of the responsibilities is the compulsory thing which I have in my mind, and I'm also working towards making myself karma yogi also, as I said earlier. I'm on that path, and I believe I'll be able to achieve there in a few years.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Soumith.
Thank you, sir.